so describing what is the nature of nature itself, Prakriti, we have to resort to the Sankhya classification of these elements. Why should we do this? Because it's useful to us in tracing back to our origin. Every meditation process is going from the outside to the inside, from the grossest elements. So we can take a kind of journey. Here we find 16 gross elements here, 16 aspects, namely 5 organs of information, 5 organs of reaction, 5 objects, and ego, mind. So these amount to 16. How does the Bhagavad Gita describe it?
The great elements.
Great elements are these great elements. From which these come from? These are called tanmatras. We have 5 of them here. So 5 of them are there. And we can see them described as not actually described here, but just collectively put 5 great elements here. 5 great elements are here. All right. Then?
Egoism.
Egoism, go on.
Intellect, as also the unmanifested.
Okay. So the unmanifested, we start off with there. Unmanifested will be this here, this becoming, this unmanifested is called Ishvara. You can call this the unmanifested. We'll revise all of this. All right. So then we have one more, egoism here. All right.
And then intellect.
Intellect will be this cosmic mind, Brahma, what we call cosmic mind. Did we describe it in some way like this? Not specifically. We described it in various ways here. So we can put cosmic mind. So we have the gross elements, and we have cosmic mind, right? And then what? We have the unmanifest, right? What else?
So the 10 senses and the 1 mind and the 5 objects of the senses.
10 senses, 1 mind, 5 objects, that's all 16 here. So 16 plus 5, how many?
21.
21 plus?
Egoism, intellect, and the unmanifested.
22, 23, 24 unmanifested. Exactly Sankhya.
Okay.
Then, on top of that, some various things that are incorporated in our misunderstanding Maya. Now we redraw this to save confusion, because as I developed this, various things appeared here. So we can bring it back and find out more exactly. That's less confusing.
Because we were looking at Vishnu and Shiva and Brahman, you know.
That's right.
And also if you can elaborate on these 5 great elements, the Tanmatras, because that is something I don't really understand.
In the meantime, this is a lesson how to clean a board. So you put a certain chemical board cleaner on.
I wonder if you mix some vinegar and water, might be, you know, the way vinegar can clean anything. It might be just worth trying, you know. And then just have a spray bottle with a small bit of vinegar and some water.
Our beginning point is there's only one entity. This is described in the 13th chapter as the knower of the field. We put it here as Purusha. Purusha, the knower of the field. That means, from the Sankhya point of view, there are many, many knowers of the fields. There are many Purushas. It's a dualistic system. They were generous enough to put the whole of nature under one heading, one umbrella, and lump the whole of nature under Prakriti. Then what are the details of Prakriti? Also called the field. Why is it called the field? Because when we observe it, we, in our fundamental nature, act as a witness. We are the witness of a number of events, all diverse in their appearance, all multiple, and something that is objective. That is, there's an observer that is there and something is observed. Any experience we know has to have these three elements. The thing that looks at it, the thing that sees it, the thing that is seen, and also the act of seeing has to be there. We put it in a knowledge point of view, from a knowledge point of view. That means from an epistemological point of view. Epistemology is to do with knowing. So we have to have a knower, then we have to have knowledge, the act of knowing, and then what is known. These three things have to be there. I am the knower in all fields, declares Krishna. That means, lest you misunderstand that there is a separation between you and you and you and you, that there is an individual Purusha, this misunderstanding is there in the Sankhya Darshana philosophy. In case you misunderstand that, we have said that when you arrive at this point, the knower, I am the knower in all the fields, one knower, one Prakriti and one knower. In the language that is being used, one Purusha, one Prakriti. Now, what is the characteristic of this Prakriti? How will we know it? But before we carry on, we have this curious term, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Also Ananta here. Ananda. Ananta we find in the Untitled Upanishad, infinity. So this Sat, Chit, Ananda means that whatever is here is existent itself. It's not a quality or a characteristic. It is existence itself. It's the only thing that exists. And is it a simple thing? That is there any form of awareness in it? It is itself consciousness. And when we explore it and discover it and find it, we find it is bliss, full of bliss. It is entirely blissful. It's not that it has bliss. It's not that bliss belongs to it. It's not a quality. So this comes in the context of a question that I was asked from a theology, philosophy student studying the relationship between Hinduism and Christianity. The question was, is there a relationship between Sat Chit Ananda and the Christian Trinity as understood by Catholicism? Catholicism understands its triune aspect in the same way as every other Christian religion, other than Unitarians. So the answer is no. There's no relationship. Because when you say a Father, a Son, a Holy Spirit, all these things, three persons in one entity, there's no person, no personality, no mind, no limbs, nothing that we can describe, beyond description, completely transcendent. And the only inkling that Christians might give is through great mystics such as Meister Eckhart, who had the temerity to say there are two things translated as Godhead and God. This was from his own experience and his reasoning also. Whether he was influenced by other schools of thought, we don't know. But he died, fortunately, before the Catholic Church could take issue with his tenets, all his tenets. Nevertheless, we assume it came from his own mystic experience, that when you reach a point where there is pure being, what we call in yogic language, nirvikalpa samadhi, without any characteristics, that kind of superconscious state, which is existence itself, consciousness itself, and bliss itself. Even this we give an apology. How can we describe something? Well, it's in a sense it's a negative way of describing it, because we know it's not non-existent. We know it is not unconscious. And we know it is not just a blank, and we get a clue of this because where there is also ananta, infinity dispenses with all time and space, And we have some kind of sample of it when we go into a dreamless sleep. In a dreamless sleep, there's no second. That's why we're peaceful. No wife, no husband, no children, no politics, no virus, nothing. Just a sense of it is peace. Why? Because there are no two. There's no time, no space, no causation, no function. So Ananda and Ananta actually are equivalents in a sense. Anyway, then how do we get any kind of relationship beyond this? Well, beyond this we have something called a field. Now we can use the field in many different ways. Agricultural field, of course, is an area where we can sow and reap. So this is an area where we sow and reap. How do we sow? We sow through thought. And so everything in the universe will have to be a product of thought. Our own thought, well, to some extent, but our mind, so-called, is a kind of substation, sub-office. It has a capacity to transform discord into harmony, that kind of thing. So this field we call Prakriti. Prakriti. The thing that is rough and unrefined. And so we don't expect any perfection there. So the goal in Vedanta is not goodness. We don't expect a God to be good. The good and bad are there in this realm of the field. And so good and bad in a moral sense is just an interpretation of events through the human experience. So we tend to categorize things in terms of pleasure and pain. Something it is not painful, we say this is good. Not painful to ourselves and others. It only tells a part of the story and gives us a reason to be aware of virtue and vice. Now Katha Upanishad gives an interesting question. What is that is beyond virtue and beyond vice? So we'll find the passage shortly and we can study that as an introduction to Vedanta in the Vedanta series. Anyway, just to answer your question, clarifying this, we find that this Prakriti, this nature, is also unmanifest, completely unmanifest. There's no manifestation whatsoever. And so it is something like a subtle potential in which manifestation can arise. And the first clue of this is what we call Om, the Omkara. That is the first vibration that comes out, that comes to the human ear as a kind of distortion, and we call it Om. And we can analyze what is the symbolic meaning of it, and why it covers the whole range of vibrational sounds and so on. Swami Purnananda makes a good job of doing that, telling us that in order to repeat these three aspects, Om, then we have to locate the tongue in different directions, and therefore it can symbolize the whole range of human linguistic expression. And when you express the whole linguistic range, you're also expressing the whole conceptual range. So anything that has a concept and anything that has a sound or is represented in terms of word is something to do with this existence that comes from an original vibration somewhere. As this vibration combines and becomes more complex, from something simple to something complex, we have more and more combinations, recombinations, until we find the familiar world we know. We can put this at the bottom and draw a distinct line here for our convenience of understanding, and we can put 16 items here. 16 items. This is 5 organs through which we gauge the existence of this world. We're gauging what we see, but it'll be non-standard. Our interpretation of the world through these will be different from another entity that has maybe 6, 7, 8 organs, something like that, or different ranges within it. So these are 5 organs of perception. These organs can be viewed as external organs, but not really. According to Sankhya, they are really internal organs. The external organs are one with the objects. So we have 5 objects that we are perceiving. Five objects that we are perceiving. And then we react in 5 different ways. 5 organs of action, we can say. So these are organs of knowledge, jnanendriyas, and these are karmendriyas, organs of action. And every single creature operates in this way, that we gauge our world, the external environment, even on a cellular level, responding to the objects, that is the environment, and then making a kind of decision based on how will we survive, how can we perpetuate this. What evolution calls struggle, natural selection, survival of the fittest, involving a procreation of the species. If I can't continue, then my ancestors can continue. This is deep within us. Why is it deep within us? Because fundamentally we are existent. When it all filters through here, it comes out as survival. And it's what we would expect. We would expect that if this is true, it comes out all along the line, completely. So this is our world, and our world is a very minor part of existence itself.
But this is all from a human perspective. As you said, from different creatures, the number of organs may be different.
It's all from a misunderstanding, misidentification of this with all of these things here, with this environment. Part of the environment is your own body. Your body itself is an environment. And if you ask every cell of the body, you say, what is your environment? Some may respond, it's hormonal. Some may respond, it's chemical. See? And then every cell of the body will coordinate. It used to be thought that the genome itself does it. Genome meaning as opposed to phenotype. The genome itself is the entity that we see in the nucleus of the cell. It comes out as DNA, a series of structural proteins and protein manufacturers that has a blueprint for the whole of your life, so-called life. It used to be thought that this was a self-contained entity, that this was in control. A man called Richard Dawkins puts this out as a neo-Darwinian perspective and tells us about a selfish gene. That is the gene that controls the other aspect, namely I, and this I is just, in Richard Dawkins' terminology, a lumbering robot. The genes are in charge, and they do everything they can to survive. Well, we know that this is blatantly not true. We know that this upward causation is not exactly there. It's more like a cooperative thing, and the cell itself overall knows how to compensate, knows how to adjust things in such a way that this idea of random mutation is not exactly true in the sense that they would have it. There's nothing really, if it was truly random, then physiology would have no input to it. But studying physiology, we understand that this so-called random variability is there to give it flexibility, so that there's a certain direction and a structure to it. And it responds to this environment and adapts, not just on one level, but brings in a plan B, plan C, plan D, and so on, so that any negative random mutation will be extremely rare. When something goes wrong, there's always something that comes in, what used to be called junk DNA. It's not junk at all. We found that it all has, some may not be explained fully, but nevertheless we can't say it has no function. We discovered that on a physiological level, all kinds of adaptations take place. So the whole of the cell is pulsating with this consciousness. What comes out as intelligence in life is because this consciousness is here and has to come through. The people who are proponents of intelligent design have a good point. It looks as if it's designed. Well, then is it not designed? Yes, it's designed, but not in the way they think it is. Not in the dualistic way, which says that there is a creator God that acts as a designer, and like an engineering mind with an engineering department. Not exactly like that. Let's put it philosophically. Supposing the Lord and I, hand to hand, come across a huge river, impossible to cross, and moving very swiftly. Then, God being a designer, will design a bridge. And then we have a bridge, and then we cross over the bridge. No, if this God is omnipotent, just in an instant, we'll be on the other side. No need for a bridge. So that's the flaw in the argument, just in terms of philosophical logic. So what is it in between this world that we see only in one form of consciousness, in a waking world, reproduced also in a dream? What is this world? How does it come about? It comes about through a combination of subtle elements. And these subtle elements come because the first thing that happens here is a cosmic mind, is the first manifestation. Cosmic mind. This cosmic mind we call mythologically Brahma. But we can say cosmic Christ also, we can say Logos also, we can say cosmic Buddha also, we can say cosmic Ram Krishna also, we can symbolize it through light, and we have this cosmic mind which now is comprised all of Sattva, it's entirely illumined. And how does this come about? This line here will represent something which we can call Maya, and for this reason, this Maya, this Prakriti, this amounts to the same thing. Mahamaya, great Maya, where for the first time a kind of web or structure of time and space gets interwoven, and what we call now in science as the space-time continuum, or the web of space-time. It seemed to be a kind of fabric of structure, the fabric of space-time. It seemed to be an invisible structure that can bend and warp and change. Now this bending, warping, changing aspect of it we call Akasha. Akasha, this represents pure matter. This gets acted upon by prana, the feminine aspect of it, which we interpret as energy, pure energy, and Einstein tells us that this energy is all that exists, because there's an equivalence of energy and matter, and energy will be more subtle, more fundamental. It's like the only thing that makes something heavy is energy. The more energy you put into something, the more heavy it is. So this can be now demonstrated here. So this is Akasha. In a sense, is also unmanifest. It is a potential. And there's a field that is there, that is similar to the electromagnetic field, that it pervades everywhere, all-pervading entity, that can be tapped in different places at different frequencies and hooked into an adapter to bring it to us and make it sound waves or heat waves or light waves. Various waves are there, various frequencies are there. And this Akasha, unmanifest and invisible, just as the electromagnetic wave system is invisible to us, yet we know it's there by its effects. And this combines and recombines. How does it combine? It combines into this next thing, Vayu. And unfortunately, you can't translate this as space, even though that's how people translate it. But space, you have to understand, is a something. It's not a void, it's not a nothing. So, when this now gets translated, this potentiality gets translated into some kinetic energy, some kinetic movement, we call this Vayu. The thing, just like air pervades everywhere, and has, when we can apply it, when we can maneuver it, then we have electricity, wind farms can be there, and all these various things can be there, and like that it pervades everywhere and can manifest in violent ways also, or as just calmness. So it has also a potentiality within it, and that potentiality comes out as fire, uselessly translated. We can call it radiation. all the things that are seen, and all the eyes that see it all come in here. Same thing, you find, see, all the pressures here, pressures, and all the skins that can catch it. And then this evolves, as it were, and unfolds. Don't forget, all this is contained within this, and all this is contained in this cosmic mind. So this is the true nature of evolution. It's evolving from a first movement and comes out as this Akasha. Within it is Vayu, within it is Agni, and then we have this Api, that is all things that are more liquid, things in a plasmic state, and this we find all tastes, all tongues or mouths that catch it, and mouths. And then finally Prithivi, that is all solids which are there in potential state, that is in a subtle state I should say. And we find here then all smells, all noses that catch it, now these are very subtle vibrations, and therefore they come with the energetic aspect. So Akasha comes with potential energy, then Vayu comes with kinetic energy, this comes with radiational energy, and this comes with here, with, if you combine these two, we have electromagnetism. So this comes with electricity, and then finally magnetism is here. So all of that is there. In other words, all of this is one thing, even though for convenience we're separating it. What is the significance? We can use all of this in order to redirect our energy and go up this way and unfold everything in a devolving way until we come to cosmic mind, which is our equivalent of personal God. At this level, if you ask this question again about the Trinity, then you'll say, this Sat Chit Ananda will come through here in this way, and will come through as creativity, manifesting, as protecting or sustaining, and also as dissolving. And so on this Sat Chit Ananda level, there's no similarity between that and the Christian Trinity or the Hindu Trinity. It's only when this so-called becoming, but nothing becomes, it only looks like this. It's just apparitionally so, because Maya is there that does it. And when this Maya unfolds, then we have this aspect of creativity, that Christianity might call God the Father. We of course might change the gender and say God the Mother, since it's all this energy coming. And then God the Son will be this sustaining and protecting element in the world. That is why every avatara is, every descent of this comes to us in human form to change the next 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. And then we have this dissolution called Shiva in the Hindu Trinity because it is auspicious to us. It is auspicious when all our ignorance is dissolved. And there we find the whole concept of Shiva Shakti. It is this Shakti that sustains us, and we might call the spirit. So there is a resemblance, there's no doubt, but not at the Satchit Ananda level. This is the pure absolute, this is pure being. How does a being become is a key question in theology. How does something that is always there, that has no time or space to it, therefore no causality, you can't say, how does God get caused in this way? You can say it here, how does this God get caused here? That God gets caused by apparitional causation, what do you call vivarta? Something like an appearance, a magic show appearance, something like that. Something appears. 3 key examples are there in Vedanta philosophy. So one is called the snake-rope duality. And how does this, what are the key components of this Maya? These are so-called gunas. These gunas are binding elements. And these binding elements, though, are ephemeral ropes because they all disband. Collectively, it's called ignorance. They disband, therefore, the antidote of knowledge. Where do we get this knowledge from? We get this knowledge through a process called yoga. And yoga, various approaches are there. The most common and convenient approach is mentioned in the preceding chapter of this Bhagavad Gita. This is Bhakti Yoga, the sweet love of God. Entrenching that and deepening that, we find this awakening occurring. And then we've just done the meditation process on the weekend. What is that process? The process is, in various ways, taking you on this internal journey back to your origin. You can choose to take 24 steps, if you will. Or you can choose to take a number of different jumps. 3 jumps will do it. Whichever way you choose, whether you do it consciously through meditation or unconsciously through love of God or karma yoga or any of the yogas, any of the approaches or processes. So this is a very important chapter because it is laying out what is the structure of this and how should we distinguish this absolute from this manifest, from the absolute from the relative. How should we do this? Why should we do it also? There's not just the academic version of it. In understanding these tanmatras, what we'll understand is the ephemerality of the world, the structure of the world, and therefore how to distinguish it from the absolute, and then proceed from there. And so this is very important for this process of viveka. There's discernment, sorting out what is real, what is not real, what is permanent, what is impermanent, what is worthwhile in terms of our mental investment, and what is not worthwhile, what is important in terms of the priority in our lifestyles. All of these things come about. To the extent then that this book here, which is there, it's not there actually, I can't see it there, anyway. So this Avakra Samhita is a beautiful textbook on non-duality, and there we find a remarkable statement. Once you understand that these gross elements here are nothing more than the manifested versions of these 5 Mahabhutas, these Mahatanmatras, these great elements, subtle elements, when you understand this, then freedom is accessible to you immediately. What a remarkable statement. Remarkable statement take place. Once you understand the nature of all these waves, then you'll understand of that which doesn't change, doesn't come, doesn't go, that which we call Sat, Chit, Ananda. So this is the importance of the Tanmatras. Understood?
So these are just different energies, one inside another.
We can view it like that, or we can view it as part of an ocean. Or we can view it as separate waves, progressive waves, that when understood and discovered will lead us to something more subtle, until ultimately we get to cosmic mind. We could take one jump from here to cosmic mind straight. So what happens in devotional life? That happens. We bypass all these angels that make the crooked path straight and jump straight to this cosmic mind that we call a Jesus or a Buddha or a Krishna or a Ramakrishna or Rama. Do that directly. Or we can, in meditation, go through and peel off every single layer and level here, understanding that each wave system is not different from the ocean itself, nor is it different from cosmic mind. These are rays, just like rays emanating from the sun, not different from the sun. Like rays of light shining through the window, not different from the sun. Like fire and its heat, like milk and its whiteness. You can't really distinguish between the two. So, for example, last Tuesday we were talking about the life of Sri Chaitanya, who followed this system called Achintya Abheda Bheda. A subtle version that gives us some apparent paradox, that it is both separate and also united, both one and also distinctly different. And as long as we feel ourselves distinctly different, then we can position ourselves as a seeker and some entity that is involved in self-discovery or discovery of the divine. But understand that each stage is not different or separate. It doesn't have to be done away with. Maya is part, and Prakriti, same thing, is part and parcel of the divine. That divine is filling us with sparkling mirror images of the truth, of what is permanently there. Imagine now the sun, and its light shines on the various waves of water, giving us miniature, sparkling versions of it, all seemingly broken up. This very body itself, human body, can be seen as luminous waves, not different or separate from the one supreme entity whose sound symbol is Om. So just as all other sounds are variations of this Om, sound variations of this Om, in this same way, all these different oscillations, vibrations that we call the world, existence, etc., is nothing more than these echo images of this one without a second. That means everywhere we look, we can be inspired. Isn't it? Wherever we look, we can see, oh you, oh wave, you are the manifestation of the Supreme, and the Supreme is primordial sound, which is simply a manifested version of this one without a second. We can't catch it. It's not an object to be caught. So at least we can catch the effect. At least we can catch the grace, the glory and grace spreading everywhere. At least that much we can tune our minds into. Doing that constantly is what is called spiritual practice. Doing it constantly and consistently also. Steady practice. We can catch this glory that we call this manifested God of the universe. Not making a universe separate from it, but making it a manifested version of it, so that we can easily see that divine entity in everything, and then as through everything and as everything. And then finally, if we go to a transcendent position, we find beyond everything also. Everything in our terminology being everything in the field, the entire field itself. But the field itself is limited. It looks like it's infinite and unlimited, but actually it's not. It's full of parts and waves and fragments, seeming fragments. What is the universe? It is seeming fragmented God, nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Our vision of it, we only see this fraction of a fraction of a fraction here, this crest of a wave here. Even that we can divide into 16 parts for convenience sake. So anything that has parts and is a fragmented thing must be somehow parts of a whole. And the sum of the parts is greater than, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And we can see the entire totality as we progress in spiritual life. For most people, we can only see increasingly subtle version of it. And concentration is the key which unfolds it all progressively. Concentration is a discoverer. The more intensively you concentrate on something, the more you hone up your concentration skills and abilities, the more the truth gets revealed.
Anyatra dharman dhyatat vadharma dhanyatra sma kritat anyatra bhutascha bhavyach yatat pashyasi tadvada.
So we typically think of things, yeah.
Tell me of that thing which you see as different from virtue,
Okay,
different
so
from vice.
we differently separate things, isn't it? This is good, this is bad. A categorization takes place. We call this moral conscience. This is virtuous, this is not. And we pursue the path of virtue expecting that it will have some reward for us. Some effect will be there in our favor. So that's a starting point many people have. But this is a different approach, because the questioner, namely Nachiketa, wants to know what is different from virtue and vice. Dharma, adharma, what is different from it? What is separate from it? What is above it? Is there something? And also, is there something that is timeless, that is not subject to causal influences? All right, so take the English.
Yeah, so different from this cause and effect, and different from the past and the future.
Past and future means tied up with the causal law. What is that which is separate and different from time, from space, and from all the typical actions and behavioral traits that we have, namely to move toward goodness and away from badness, and maintain this balance of virtue and vice? What is different from morality? Many religions will say, here's the whole of religion, you have to be good. God is good, and we expect a good reward. This is telling us that by inference in the question, there's something different and separate from that. Tell me what is above and beyond good and bad, and what is separate from time. All right.
Sarve Veda yat padam manti tapasya sarvani cha yadvadvanti.
Yes. So what is the English translation from that first stanza?
I tell you briefly of that goal which all the Vedas with one voice propound, which all the austerities speak of.
No. Go back to the preceding one. What is that? Different.
Tell me of that thing which you see as different from virtue, different from vice, different from this cause and effect, and different from the past and future.
All right, read again. Same one.
Tell me of that thing which you see as different from virtue, different from vice.
Different from virtue and different from vice. You get the point. There is something then that is separate from virtue and vice. That is, if you have an aspect of God which is virtuous, there must be something different from that. This is inferred. All right. Then the next statement in English, different from?
Different from this cause and effect.
Cause and effect. We live in a world that has a causality, and that's associated with virtue and vice. You do something good, that's the cause of something good that comes to you. You do something bad, that is the cause of something that comes as bad for you. Reward and punishment is there. Right. We're not concerned with that. Is there something different from that? Go on, the next one.
And different from the past and the future.
Different from the past and the future. In other words, something that is outside time. This causality has a sequence to it. Something occurs here, in the future some effect comes to me. What is that is different? This is a very key question. Right now you can go to the second stanza.
Sarve Veda yat padamanti tapasya sarvani cha yadvadvanti yadischanto brahmacharyam charanti tate padam sangrahen bravimyo amityayet. I tell you briefly of that goal which all the Vedas with one voice propound, which all the austerities speak of, and wishing for which people practice Brahmacharya.
So they're not doing it for goodness. They're not doing it to get some effect beneficial for them. I'm going to tell you that. All right. And by which people practice the supreme self-control, Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is the one key encapsulated summary, if you will, of all controls.
It is this. It is Om.
Right, it is the Om, that cosmic mind, Om. All right, that is what is above all these other temporal things which have effects, good, bad, past, present, future, and causality. No time in it, no space in it. That's this Om. All right, now.
Etadhye vaksharam brahma. Etadhye vaksharam param. Etadhye vaksharam gyatva. Yo yadishyati tatsya tat. This letter, Om, indeed is the inferior Brahman, Hiranyagarbha.
Inferior Brahman, because the superior Brahman, the one above that, will be this Satchit Ananda, described as Brahman, Parabrahman. All right. But this also is Brahman. All right.
And this letter is indeed the supreme Brahman.
Not superior, inferior in the sense that we normally use it. Not that it's a lesser thing. Not that it is a poor cousin, a different caste, a different social order. Not in that way. All right. But in terms of the order of things, you can see this absolute is there. And then second to it, under the line, we come this manifested entities. All right.
Anybody who, while meditating on this letter, wants any of the two, to him comes that.
Yes. By meditating on this sound symbol, Om, you get both. You get the understanding of this field as well as the knower. All right.
Etadalambam Shrestha metadalambam param Etadalambam lambanam gyatva brahmaloke mahiyate. This medium is the best. This medium is the supreme and the inferior Brahman. Meditating on this medium, one becomes adorable in the world of Brahman.
Discover some key aspects to these passages. Anyatra dharmat, different from virtue, and that is from the performance of scriptural duties. We all want to do something religious, and we use the scripture as a manual, if you will, as an indicator. What should we do that is good and what is not good? What is good, what is bad? We are looking for some direction. We find this scripturally. As also, anyatra adharmat, different from vice. So also different from this, also krita, the effect, and akrita, the cause. Is there something different from these? Moreover, anyatra putascha bhavyatcha, different also from the past in time and also from the future in time. That means something that is present now. That's an important thing. That is what is not limited by these three versions of time that we have, past, present and future. In other words, different from karma. See how much emphasis we have on this karma. Your karma, your bad karma. This is a very popular term that is used. A misunderstanding, the sowing and reaping takes place in a temporal framework, so that even when we classify karma, we put it as prarabdha karma, sanchita and all this. Something carried over from the past. Is there something different from that? Can we bypass this whole karma completely? So the question indicates that there must be something like that. And then, yes, I tell you briefly, so that attainable thing, yat padam, the goal which all the Vedas, sarve Vedaha, without divergence, they're all consistent on it, propound. And that which all the austerities speak of, that is, when you do the austerity, is not connected with doing things in the past. Karma, cause and effect, virtue, vice, dharma, adharma. Not connected with that. Doing austerity is for some different reason. So what are all these things that they practice? Including this strict practice of Brahmacharya, that either consists, of course, can be applied as either study with an aim to understand what is the truth, and then typically Brahmacharya is study in the house of the teacher, or is of the same kind, lifelong celibacy associated with it. This is all meant for only one thing, that is the attainment of Brahman, as it were. So he's going to say in brief, and he says unequivocally that it is this Om. So Om iti etat, it is this. This Om is the goal. And Om is put there since Om is the name and symbol of Brahman. It's the only name and symbol that we have. So then, etat eva aksharam brahma, this letter Om indeed is the inferior Brahman. So that is the Brahman called Hiranyagarbha. So when we put here, in this category here, cosmic mind, we are saying it is Hiranyagarbha. Garbha means a seed or a womb from which the seed proceeds. A golden womb, that is, that which is the womb of all wombs, from which all things proceed. All of these things proceed from that, and therefore are not different. No more than a son is different from a father. So there's Hiranyagarbha. And this letter is indeed the Supreme Brahman. Anybody who, while meditating on this letter, wants any of the two, to him comes that. And then we have this wonderful footnote on this Om as a symbol. Now we can see it is a well known that the thing that is revealed, that is flashes in the mind, or the utterance of a word, is signified by the word. That means word and concepts are no difference. As soon as you put the word, concept flashes. This is the significance of guiding in meditation. A guided meditation puts out the word first, called nama. After that comes a form, a concept called rupa. This nama rupa sequence is the guided meditation that you yourself do. And so the actual thing and the word are not separate. So this knowledge, untouched by outer objects, that reveals itself to the man of concentrated mind on the utterance of the word Om, is also dependent on and signified by Om, and one should meditate thus. How? I am Brahman, as signified by Om. That should come. And as conditioned by Maya, there, as conditioned by Maya, in which the Sattva quality predominates. All cosmic mind has the predominance of Sattva. If, however, one is not able to do so, one should superimpose the idea of Brahman on the symbol Om. What is Om? You superimpose this idea of Brahman. And the best minds can think of Brahman without Om, of course, at all. The use of Om is then gone. No concept is there, because Brahman is beyond concept. The middle ones can meditate on Brahman with the help of Om. And then those who are struggling even further, that is, with the help of Om, and the inferior ones can worship Brahman in the symbol Om. Let's start from the bottom first. So we take Om in order for us to lead us to a mid-position where we can then meditate on Brahman with the help of this sound symbol. And then ultimately, the best minds, you can transcend that and think of Brahman as it actually is, in its absolute state, as it were. So, The commentary goes on, this Supreme Brahman, so for of them both, this letter Om is the symbol. Yatva, while worshipping, itat eva aksharam, this very letter Om as Brahman, anything that, whether the supreme or the inferior, that is the lesser one, below the line indicated, anybody who wishes for, ichati, who wishes for anyone, any aspect, tatasya, that becomes his. If it is the Supreme Brahman that he desires, it becomes noble to him. But if it is the personal God, what we call Brahman with guna, if it is that, it becomes attainable, either one. Supposing I am a devotee, I have no aspiration to attain anything that is absolute. I want the sweetness of devotion. I take the Saguna Brahman. That becomes through using and meditating on this sound symbol, I get that. Or by using it and meditating, I get the absolute, whichever one. Having got the absolute, I understand I got everything. That flashes as well. So this medium is the best, this medium is the supreme, and the other Brahman, Saguna Brahman, meditating on this medium, one becomes adorable in the world of Brahman. And this is why we take this sound symbol Om. Om is the mother of all other vibrations, since from it all these other vibrations called tanmatras come. And these gross manifestations come as well. You can view all of these as variations of vibrations that come from this primordial vibration Om. When we think of it in this way, then we get a surge of spiritual enlightenment comes to us. Now there's a ranking order. So go to the next stanza.
न जायते म्रियते वा विप्रश्चित्रायं कुतश्चिवं बभूव कश्चित् अजो नित्यः शाश्वतो अयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. The intelligent self is neither born nor does it die. It did not originate from anything, nor did anything originate from it. It is birthless, eternal, undecaying and ancient.
Don't ask what caused it, therefore.
It is not injured even when the body is killed.
See the echoes in the Bhagavad Gita on this. We go to the next stanza straight.
Hanta chin manyate hantum hatvascha vain manyate hatam ubhauto no vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. If the killer thinks of it in terms of killing, and if the killed thinks as killed, both of them do not know. It does not kill, nor is it killed.
All this idea of mortality and cause and effect and dharma, adharma, all comes within the lower range here. Go to the next stanza immediately. We'll go through these in greater detail next week.
Anonaniya mahato mahiya natmas asya janto arnihito guhayam tam kratu pashyati vitishoko dhatu prasadan mahinmanamatmana. The self that is subtler than the subtle and greater than the great is lost in the heart of every creature. A desireless man sees that glory of the self through the serenity of the organs, and thereby he becomes free from sorrow.
All right. They're all worthy of comment. Go to the next one.
Asino duram vrajati shayano yati sarvatah kastam madamadam devam madanyo gyatu mahati. While sitting, it travels far away. While sleeping, it goes everywhere. Who but I can know that deity who is both joyful and joyless.
Both joyful and joyless. So all of this is a profound expansion from this one question, and we'll study it in greater detail next Sunday. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.